Welcome to the Mu Sigma Lambda Chapter Knowledge Hub. I am Brother Dr. Rob J. Thrash, the fourth Spring 21 initiate of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. The Knowledge Hub is your source for growth and development. And I am so happy to have with me Brother Matthew Newman, another Spring 21 initiate, but of the Beta Psi Lambda chapter, right across the way from us. He is a husband. He is an entrepreneur. He is a visionary. He is an astute businessman. He is a mentor. He is a coach. And he is our subject matter expert on purpose. So welcome, Brother Newman.
Brother Dr. Thrash, thank you so very much. It's an honor to be here, and what a potent topic of purpose. So thank you a lot for this opportunity.
Absolutely. And before we jump in, I'll ask all of you all to go ahead and like and subscribe and share this video with someone else. So we're talking about purpose, and January is, as I see it, a perfect time to ground ourselves in purpose in this topic. And so to situate us in a conversation that I know is going to be robust, I want to know from you, Brother Newman, what is purpose as you define it?
Purpose, as I define it rather, is a path that has been preordained before you were even birthed into the earth. A preordained path that has been purposed, a preordained path that has been intended specifically for you even before birth. That's how I define purpose.
So before birth, a path preordained, and it is uniquely decided for one person, right? Okay, I got you. So what I'm gonna be doing is, I'm taking mental notes now. Then I'm gonna go back and jot down my notes for all of this because you're already dropping some knowledge here, right? So here, with the idea of it being preordained, that means that someone has to then know or discover or have it made clear to them what that path is, what that purpose is. When one lacks that clarity, when one lacks that knowing, how do they find it? How do they seek it? How do they understand it?
Yeah, this is a common quote that I use anytime that I discuss purpose and or passion. Purpose is never, ever found. Purpose is always recognized. My pastor in San Antonio, I quote him often, Bishop Rick Hawkins, by saying this, is that it's time for us to stop trying to find purpose, but to recognize our purpose. And so for those of you watching or listening later, when you find yourself in a position to where your purpose or the intent of living for you is unclear, that purpose or that intent for living is made clear by way of certain environments and certain people who have been purposed to help unlock that inside of you. That's the key, is that many people aren't surrounded by a network or a group of people that enable them to recognize their purpose. And so therefore, they're journeying through life with their growth and their purpose stunted or hidden because they don't have the right people around them to unlock that. Now, who are those right people? Who's that network? Who's the body of people? By way of us, those of us raised in the church, it can be our pastor. Pastors are sent for a certain people. Most people join the church because praise and worship is good, but your worship leader, your pastor is the person who is intended to help unlock and or help you to recognize the purpose. It could be friends. It could be fraternities and sororities. It could be fathers and mothers and brothers and sisters. It could be an array of people. I love Paulo Coelho's book, The Omen, right? Every time Santiago went to some place, he discovered an omen, what I call a prophetic instance, a moment in time where someone is speaking life into you, or some type of scenario is speaking life into you to help you recognize the purpose that's already been birthed inside of you.
I like that you bring that up, the recognition piece, right? Because we know that there are instances throughout life where people are speaking, where situations are speaking, environments are speaking, and we don't often hear it or we don't receive the message. I'm wondering why that is, and I know we're going off script a little bit. I sent Brother Newman some questions, but as this conversation unfolds, of course, it has to happen organically and naturally. What gets in the way of people recognizing even those messages that for someone else just might be very blaring and glaring.
Life itself, right? There's a song, and I don't want to take this to church, but there's a song that's been brewing.
That's what you gotta do. I'm here for it.
It's a song that's been brewing in my spirit since yesterday. In the shower, all at my desk, literally crying here at my desk as I was working yesterday, just kind of rapping this song into my mind. And the lyric of the song, I'll say with the prayer that I said to my brothers in a group chat yesterday, is God, allow not our hearts to be hardened by the things of the world. And the things of the world are those life situations that happen. It could be the transition of a loved one. It could be the going bankrupt or being broke and no money in the bank and having too much muff at the end of the money. Whatever the life scenario is, that can cloud or fall or clutter the recognition of our purpose, because we're taking our minds off of what God has already said is intended for our life. Right? The things of the world. And so with our hearts not being hardened by the things of the world, it allows our hearts to be open. Look at the word aeration, right? For those who have their yards aerated during the winter, as you should, if you haven't done it, go do it. But the reason why aeration happens in the wintertime is so that there's holes plugged into the ground so they can plant winter rye or seeds that are intended for the winter. And so the prayer is that God, let our hearts be open, aerate our heart so that when seed falls in, it finds good ground and produces a harvest that can be made useful to your hands. And so in that scenario or that example, people are often clogged by or distracted by way of their purpose recognition because of life scenarios. And so if we continue to be distracted, which is a human thing to do, because life sucks at times, but it's a human thing to do to be distracted, but we have to rehearse it enough so that we aren't distracted, so that our hearts remain open to recognize what God has intended for our lives, or that purpose that we're speaking about.
I like that, rehearsing it, right? The doing it again and again, so that we're not distracted and so that we're not inhibited by those things that happen with us. When someone says, I'm ready. I'm ready to recognize. I'm hearing this, I'm listening to this, and I also know that life has happened, and it has happened in a way where I feel stuck. I want to recognize, I want to move forward, I want to walk in it, experience it, live it, but I feel stuck. How does one become unstuck? How do we shed all of that so that we can actualize what we've recognized?
Yeah. There's only one way from my purview. That one way is by the rehearsal of the acknowledgement of what I'm purposed to do. We never take our eyes off of the why, right? We never take our eyes. The why serves as a foundation, right? I gave this message before, is that the backbone or the fortitude of any structure is always tested by its foundation, right? The foundation is always tested by when the winds blow, right? When the winds blow, when the waters shift and move and the tide comes, the foundation is tested. And so our purpose is foundational. Everything that is established on top of the purpose is life, whatever life brings. But our purpose is a foundation. So when one finds themselves stuck, they have to rehearse the recognition of life is going to happen, but I can't get distracted. I may be frustrated at times, but I can't be distracted. I may cry, but I can't get distracted. I may mourn, but I can't get distracted. And if we rehearse the purpose and the why long enough, then it will allow us to be in spaces when at times when we are tested to not get distracted. Or to respond to your question is to get unstuck. We're going to get stuck, but there's a way we can get unstuck. I used to say this long ago, like you find yourself waddling on a railroad track, you better be careful because you may get run over. We may find ourselves on a railroad track one time, but we better cross that thing. If not, we're going to get struck. So again, there's a purpose, or there's moments where yes, life will happen and you may get stuck on that railroad, but you don't have to get struck by the train. There'll be moments where you may be stuck in life because of life situations, but it doesn't mean that you remain in that situation. Les Brown says, it doesn't matter if you land on your back. If you fall, just make sure you land on your back, because if you can look up, you can get up. So that is the intent of this response of what happens when one is stuck.
So, Brother Newman, I appreciate the depth and I mean the enthusiasm with which you speak about purpose. What's your story? Because you didn't just arrive at it. This isn't theoretical, right? This feels it feels real and lived.
Yeah.
Where did you find this out?
Yeah. So I have a long story, a short story, and a middle, somewhere in the middle, and I'll figure out a way to land this plane somewhere in the middle. And I always consider my church life, born and raised in the church. Like I always tell people, I don't know anything else. I know church, as I know you do so very well, and which is one of the reasons why you and I vibe so well.
Yes.
Is my church back home in Houston was the place where I threw my seeds out. That was the place. My seeds were cultivated in San Antonio, but my harvest was from my Dallas church. So that's the way that I explain my story. One, because I was raised, right? That's where seeds are. That's where they begin to germinate. Is at home, but then they're cultivated when you're away from home. But that harvest comes at a time when you're mature, right? That's when the harvest comes. So my story is that I had to recognize early on the significance of words and how words can be used to not only impact the one that's in front of me, but also myself.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So I was the one raised traditionally, if you will, from in an Orthodox home that believed everything that the Bible said, but I never tested for myself until life started to test me. And I started to question God, why? Like you said this, but this is happening. And so I had to realize that the affliction is going to come. But how I respond to the affliction is what ultimately matters. My favorite orator, Zig Ziglar, says it's not what happens to you, but it's how you respond to what happens to you that makes the difference. And so when I lost my first job out of college, that's where I thought life was happening to me. Because all along I was taught to go to school and get your degree and you get out and you get a good job, right? But here's the crazy part. My first job out of college was only making $35,000. But I was in debt $52,000. But they said go out and get a good job. That's what they say. But how does your income outweigh the debt? That didn't make sense to me. And so when I lost the job, not even having made $35,000, but was still $52K in debt, I started to question some things. I started to realize, like, okay, they told me to follow this path, but this path didn't work. But it was until I lost the job that I started to mentor, that I started to go out into my own entrepreneurial pursuits, that I realized I can make way more money and bless way more people. And when life started to happen and respond to even those scenarios where I was running away from the repo man, when I was coming into notices on the back of my apartment door, and all of these things that I was trying to escape, I had to realize that there was something way more important. And what was important was how I was responding to what was happening. And here's what's crazy, Brother Dr. Rob, is that no matter what happened to me, my purpose never changed. So I went through the hell, I went through the high water, I was objected, every name scattered over social, all of these things that come with, running companies and all that stuff, but my purpose never changed. So this may be a message for someone, is that, and I thank God for this moment, because despite what I was experiencing, God's purpose, his hand, his face that was shining up on me was still there.
Still there, constant. I sometimes get stuck on what folks say. You said that you can make way more money so that you could bless more people.
Yeah.
I don't want to just skip over that.
Yeah.
The desire to be a blessing.
Yeah.
To know that with the resource and what you were convinced and confident God was going to provide to you.
Yeah.
I mean, and for you to say, so that I could bless more people, that's big for me.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering that sometimes we speak to people and they are driven.
Yeah.
and they are driven to bless themselves. They are driven for their name to be in the mouths of more people. They're driven so that their influence could be greater for the sake of just that recognition, right? But how often do you see someone, a young man, a young Black man saying, God, I know you're going to do this for me, because when you do it for me, I'm going to do this for others.
Yeah.
And then I'm wondering, God, that won't bless that.
Mm.
You know, that's pretty big.
Let me respond to this real quick.
Sit there, right? Yeah, go ahead.
There's something that came across LinkedIn one day. I won't even go to the story, but here's what my response was on LinkedIn. When we grow entitled based on how we've been blessed, we discount the blessing God gave us. Many people who are blessed grow entitled. I'm entitled to this. I'm entitled to that. I worked hard for this. I did this for me. Yes, all true and good. Congratulations, self-made. But when you neglect to bless someone because of your entitlement, you discount the blessing God even gave you.
Oh, absolutely.
So who are we to stand in the shoes of as a blessed person and not bless someone else? We know that in that sense, we discount the blessing that God has given us because we've grown entitled in the blessing, feeling that it's only for us. Now, there are many people out there. There's so much work for us to do. Even those within the Divine Nine, we think we're doing great work, but there's so much real work that needs to be done because we are a blessed population.
We really are. And so being in this brotherhood, that is about serving other people. That is the aspect of it that drew me to it. And the prospect of I'm one person doing some things, but if I join with these thousands and thousands and thousands of brothers doing this great work, then it'll be greater work, right? Because it's not just me in my corner trying to make these things happen. And that is part of me actualizing my purpose, because I've never seen myself doing anything that didn't involve me giving to someone else. And no matter what I've done, where I've been, what capacity I've worked in, what organization I've worked for, I've always given to someone else, even if that wasn't what I was supposed to be doing in that job.
Sure. Yeah.
And I'm not going to stop, because like you said, the purpose doesn't change. No matter the environment, no matter the position, no matter the assignment, the purpose is not going to change. We're in January, and this is a time where people are very they're contemplating the conditions of their lives and moving forward, and what is this year going to be for me? What do you say to those people that are in this space in this moment right now? They've actually recognized their purpose, and still have a question about, how do I live this thing out this year? Does a new year mean anything? Does January 1st even switch on something magical or new? Like, what are your thoughts, and what do you have to say to those that are viewing this that might be in that space?
A new year means nothing if a new year was not planned.
Wait, okay, no.
Okay.
I knew you'll go somewhere. You got to say that again.
Yeah, a new year means nothing if a new year isn't planned.
Okay.
And we oftentimes try to push the gas in a car without first starting the car. And a car has to first be started, whether it's a manual key, push to start, whatever type of car it is, has to be started before we push the gas, and the gas actually enables the car to move. And so the same thing for your new year. It's phenomenal that we're here in a new year. The question is, what have you considered from the previous year that enables you to plan for what's to come? Here's something that I believe is incredibly important to put on the table, is that a purpose is undergirded or supported by purposes or multiple purposes in various seasons of your life. You can think of, again, the purpose being the foundation. That's not the only thing in the house. There's doors, there's garage doors, there's windows, there's blinds and curtains and everything else. And so there are multiple purposes that can pop up in your life depending on the season. But the overall purpose of what God has intended for your life still reigns supreme. And so for those who are in this season of recognizing your purpose, congratulations, you've arrived. You've made it. You've woken up to what God has had intended for your life. And so at this point, it's important for you to assess every other area of your life. Who are your friends? Who is your network? Who are your mentors? What is your job like? Is it time to leave that job in order to serve the purpose? It's hard to recognize, especially for those who are in traditional spaces of relying solely on that quote unquote 9 to 5, and there's nothing wrong with it. I only encourage you to determine if that time is a contributor, positively contributing to your purpose. And so again, Brother Dr. Rob, if for those who have arrived at purpose and they recognize it, what do I do in this new year? It's my encouragement for each of you to assess who and what is in your life. Again, assess your network, assess the people surrounding you, assess your mentors, assess your job, assess your home life. Is your partner, your significant other, your spouse contributing towards your purpose? And if so, how? Make the assessment. Take inventory of everything that's in your life and determine if that is a positive contribution to the purpose that you have now recognized.
Brother Newman, this assessment and inventory, so important. And not just like mental, like, write it out.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Write it out. Look at it. Yeah. When you're talking about how it's contributing to your purpose, what you've recognized and what you're moving in and moving towards, write it.
Yes.
like I said, write the vision, make it plain.
Yes.
Like put some time in it. That's such an important aspect of how one will move through another year, not just a new year, but another year. So by the time a viewer watches this, what is your hope? That is what will be activated in it. What do you want for them?
Yeah. My hope for anyone ever watching, listening, standing near me is for anyone to be challenged by what I say that promotes reflection. A challenge should always promote reflection. And so when we talk about taking inventory or making an assessment and writing it down, is truly take the time to reflect based on what you hear, what you felt during this time. And when you reflect, write down a couple of questions. Have I recognized my purpose? If you have recognized your purpose, what is your purpose? Some people think they've recognized it, but can't articulate it. So can I articulate what my purpose is? If I've recognized my purpose and I can clearly articulate it, how do I go about fulfilling my purpose? Fulfilling is lifelong. Fulfilling is not 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, until I'm 45, I'm 50. No, it's a lifelong fulfillment. So number 3, have I recognized it? If I've recognized it, can I articulate it? If I can articulate it, then how do I fulfill it? Those are the 3 steps, the 3 next steps that I would encourage anyone watching, listening. How are you feeling during this moment? Take inventory of those 3 elements as you watch or as you listen, as you listen.
All right. Brother Newman, I appreciate you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
A power-packed 20 or so minutes, and we will definitely be making sure that we provide a mechanism for that reflection to happen with our viewers. Again, viewers, please like and subscribe, share this video. Brother Newman, if one wants to know more about you, what are your social media handles? How do they know more about you?
I appreciate that, Brother Doctor. I got to get that right. Brother Dr. Thank you for that. For those who want to get in touch or just want to know more, social handles, one is Mr_Catch-on-Fire. That's Instagram, Mr_Catch-on-Fire. My website is www.matthewnewman.org. You can go there and find LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, etc., and to read a little bit more about me, or if you ever want to discuss opportunities of me speaking in certain environments for you, I'm happy to do that as well. Instagram and on the website.
Thank you, Brother Newman. And thank you all for coming by the MSL Knowledge Hub. We will see you next month. Thank you.